The first thing I remember is the silence. Not the kind that settles over a house late at night, but the kind that makes every tiny sound feel wrong. A floorboard creaking somewhere above, the faint scrape of something moving in a room that should have been empty. And then, years later, the terrifying realization that if my cousin had walked into that room just a few seconds earlier, neither of us knows how that night might have ended. When I was 9 years old, my cousin Tyler and I spent nearly every weekend together. Sleepovers at his house were the highlight of my childhood. His family lived in a huge house that felt endless to two kids with vivid imaginations. This was before smartphones, online gaming, and social media filled every spare moment. Back then, we made our own entertainment, and nothing beat playing hide-and-seek after dark. Tyler's house was perfect for it. Long hallways disappeared into darkness. Spare bedrooms stayed closed for weeks at a time. Every staircase seemed to lead somewhere mysterious, especially at night when we weren't allowed to turn on the lights. We had our own rule: only flashlights, no lamps, no ceiling lights. We thought it made the game scarier. Looking back, we had no idea how true that would become. One particular evening, both of our parents planned to spend the night in Atlantic City. Tyler's older brother, Joe, had been left in charge of us. At first, everything felt completely normal. We ate dinner, joked around, and watched television while Joe pretended to supervise. About an hour later, he grabbed his keys. "I'm heading out," he said casually. "Don't tell Mom." It wasn't unusual. Tyler barely reacted. Apparently, Joe did this all the time. Tyler enjoyed having the house to ourselves, and Joe hated spending an entire evening babysitting two energetic 9-year-olds. The front door closed behind him. A moment later, we heard his car disappear down the street, leaving the two of us completely alone inside the house. Neither of us thought much of it. It was already around 9 o'clock, and instead of feeling nervous, we were excited. With no older brother around to interrupt us, it seemed like the perfect time to play our favorite game. Tyler volunteered to count first. I smiled, switched on my flashlight, and took off running into the darkness, convinced the biggest challenge that night would be finding the perfect hiding place. I couldn't have been more wrong. Tyler stood in the basement with his eyes closed, one hand covering his face as he began counting loudly. 1, 2, 3. His voice echoed softly through the concrete walls while I slipped toward the stairs, trying not to let my footsteps make a sound. The basement had plenty of places to hide, but I wanted somewhere he would never think to check until the very end. 8, 9, 10. I hurried up the first flight of stairs, and then another, reaching the second floor. Even during the day, this part of the house felt different from the rest. It had its own small living area and 3 bedrooms, 2 of which were rarely used. At night, with every light switched off, the entire floor felt abandoned. Only the narrow beam of my flashlight cut through the darkness. I chose one of the unused bedrooms and quietly stepped inside. The room smelled faintly of old furniture and fabric that hadn't been disturbed in a long time. Moonlight leaked through a crack in the curtains, casting pale shapes across the carpet. Near one wall sat 2 oversized beanbag chairs with a blanket draped over them. Perfect. I squeezed myself into the narrow space between them, pulled the blanket over part of my body, and left the bedroom door slightly open. We always did that. A closed door was too obvious and usually gave away a hiding spot. Then I switched off my flashlight. Everything disappeared. For several moments, I heard nothing except the distant ticking of a clock somewhere downstairs. Then Tyler finished counting. "I'm coming." His voice drifted faintly through the house, followed by the muffled sound of running feet. I fought the urge to smile. Minutes passed. The excitement of hiding slowly turned into patience. Every tiny noise seemed louder in the darkness. The old house settled with quiet pops and groans. Somewhere outside, wind brushed against the trees, making branches tap softly against the windows. Eventually, I heard footsteps climbing the stairs. Slow, careful. They stopped outside the bedroom. The floor creaked. Someone entered. From beneath the blanket, I listened as the footsteps crossed the carpet. Whoever it was opened the first closet, paused, then opened the second. A few seconds of silence followed before the footsteps moved again. Instead of leaving, the person walked over to the desk. I heard drawers sliding open, one after another. Not the quick search of a child playing hide-and-seek, but the deliberate, methodical sound of someone rummaging through things that didn't belong to them. At first, I tried to convince myself it was Tyler. Maybe he was trying to trick me. Maybe he had decided to make the game more dramatic by pretending to search through the room before finding me. It sounded like something a 9-year-old might do. But the longer I listened, the less that explanation made sense. The movements were too slow, too deliberate. The drawers weren't being pulled open with the careless excitement of a child. Each one slid out, paused, then closed before the next one opened. Whoever was standing only a few feet away wasn't looking for a hiding place. They were searching. I lay perfectly still beneath the blanket, hardly daring to breathe. My heart hammered against my chest so loudly that I was certain it had to be echoing through the room. Then everything changed. From somewhere downstairs, Tyler's voice rang through the house. He called my name in the playful, drawn-out tone he always used whenever he thought he was getting close. "Come on, I know you're up here." The sound froze every thought in my mind. If Tyler was downstairs, then who was standing inside the bedroom with me? A cold wave rushed through my entire body. Every muscle locked in place. For a split second, the room became completely silent. The person had heard Tyler too. I slowly lifted the edge of the blanket, just enough to peek outside. What I saw instantly destroyed any hope that I had misunderstood the situation. The figure standing near the desk was far too tall to be Tyler. It was a fully grown man. Even in the dim light filtering through the curtains, I could tell it wasn't Joe. It wasn't Tyler's father either. This man's build, posture, and height were completely different. He didn't move like someone who belonged in that house. The instant Tyler called my name again, the stranger reacted. He became absolutely still, almost like a statue listening for danger. Without making a sound, he stepped backward into the darkest corner of the room, disappearing behind the short section of wall that jutted out beside the closet. Only seconds later, Tyler walked into the bedroom, sweeping his flashlight across the floor while casually calling for me again. He had no idea someone else was hiding there with us. As the beam drifted closer to the corner, I realized we were only one careless step away from something neither of us was prepared to face. The beam from Tyler's flashlight drifted slowly across the room, bouncing over the old dresser, the empty walls, and the pile of beanbag chairs where I was hiding. Every second felt painfully slow. I didn't dare look toward the corner again. I already knew what was there. The stranger was concealed just beyond Tyler's line of sight, separated only by a narrow section of wall. If Tyler took a few more steps, or if he decided to shine his flashlight in that direction, the game would end in a way neither of us could predict. My breathing became so shallow it almost hurt. Tyler kept calling my name, stretching out the words in a teasing voice. "I know you're here." He laughed to himself, completely unaware that another person was standing only a few feet away, listening to every word he said. The flashlight beam swept across the blanket covering me. For a brief moment, I considered staying hidden and pretending I wasn't there. Maybe the stranger would wait until Tyler left. Maybe he would slip out without anyone ever knowing he had been inside the house. But another thought hit me just as quickly. If Tyler kept searching, sooner or later he would find that corner. I couldn't let that happen. Before he had the chance to move any farther into the room, I pushed the blanket aside and climbed out, forcing myself to smile even though every instinct was screaming at me to run. "There you are." Tyler laughed. "You got me," I replied, trying to sound disappointed instead of terrified. I even let out a fake laugh, hoping my voice didn't shake. I walked over to him naturally, draped an arm around his shoulders, and congratulated him on winning the game. Every movement was calculated. I didn't want the man behind the wall to think we knew he was there. "Come on," I said. "Let's head downstairs." Still chatting about the game as if nothing unusual had happened, I gently guided Tyler toward the bedroom door. We walked into the hallway, then started down the staircase at a normal pace. Only when we were halfway down the stairs, far enough that I hoped the stranger couldn't hear us clearly anymore, did I lean close to Tyler and whisper the words that instantly drained the color from his face. "There's a man hiding in that room." For one frozen heartbeat, he stared at me. Then we both ran. Neither of us looked back. The moment Tyler understood I wasn't joking, pure panic took over. We burst through the front door, our footsteps pounding across the driveway as fast as our legs could carry us. The cool night air hit us like a wall, but neither of us slowed down. We were two terrified 9-year-olds running on instinct, desperate to put as much distance as possible between ourselves and the house. The only place that felt safe was next door. We raced to our neighbor's front door and pounded on it with both fists. Within moments, The woman who lived there opened the door, immediately recognizing something was terribly wrong. We were breathless, struggling to speak over one another. There's a man in the house. He isn't supposed to be there. At first, she looked confused, but one glance at our faces erased any doubt. We weren't playing another game. We weren't trying to scare her. We were genuinely terrified. Without hesitation, she ushered us inside, locked her front door, and reached for the telephone. As she called the police, Tyler and I stood near the window, staring at the dark outline of his house across the yard. Every shadow suddenly seemed alive. Every second stretched endlessly as we wondered whether the stranger was still inside, or whether he had realized we'd escaped. The sound of approaching sirens shattered the silence. Police cars pulled up outside, their flashing lights washing over the neighborhood in pulses of red and blue. Several officers rushed toward the house, disappearing through the front door while others remained outside. Those next few minutes felt longer than the entire night. Neither Tyler nor I spoke. We simply watched. Then, roughly 5 minutes later, the front door opened again. An officer emerged with a handcuffed man. Even from a distance, I recognized his height immediately. He was the same figure I had seen standing in that upstairs bedroom. The same stranger who had hidden behind the wall after hearing Tyler's voice. He was escorted to a police car while officers continued searching the house to make sure no one else was inside. I still remember the overwhelming wave of relief that washed over me as they drove him away. Even at 9 years old, I understood how close we had come to something far worse. I've replayed that night in my mind countless times since then. If Tyler had searched one more corner, if I had spoken too soon, if we had hesitated instead of running, the outcome could have been very different. To this day, I can still hear those slow footsteps crossing the carpet, followed by the sound of drawers quietly opening in a room where